lots of magical, remarkable work in the world. If you do any workshops with her, you feel her energy and her passion to be love in an authentic way. So with that, my heart goes out to Trina.
Oh, thank you. A little bit about me, if you don't know who I am. I'm a mom. I'm a grandma. I've been working as an entrepreneur since I was 18 years old. So it's been, oh my goodness, over 40 years. And studying spiritual studies as well, and personal transformation work for at least 20, probably more. And I've also been working with a Native American elder as a sun dancer now for, 8-9 years, and which is incredibly powerful as well. So what I teach and what I bring forward is generally a combination of business, energy, frequencies, native perspectives, quite a few different pieces. The classes that I took, though, when it came to metaphysics were all about, they were applied metaphysics, which meant that there were exercises and there were things that you had to do, because who we are today is a culmination of everything that's gone before us. And as we've developed over time, we've brought these experiences in and they have an impact on us. So right now, it's been very interesting the last 11 days, because I had a 7-month-old baby placed in my care by the courts for a period of time while the parents are resolving some things. And it's given me a new opportunity and a new learning to watch and also to ponder. It's kind of like when they come in, there's not a whole lot there. And they start absorbing everything. And I always wonder, it's like, how do they think, or how does their mind work? Because their mind isn't developed with language at that point when they're that young. And it's like, so how do we get to the places that we are? So we're going to start showing a PowerPoint here called Managing Your Mind. And this is about practices for balance and changing your life. But we're going to talk a little bit about mind first before we talk about some practices. So Kathy, do you want to put that up?
Sure.
She gets to share her screen so you guys can see it.
There we go.
Cool. I really like the graphic. I like the design of these slides. It was kind of flowing. And as I was driving home today, I was noticing how my mind was sort of flowing all over the place. And so what I wanted to say to everybody was, welcome to the theater of the mind. And there's a whole bunch of little faces here that actually, they all have different expressions. And as our mind moves and as we think, we move from different places all the time. It's kind of crazy how we process, how we repetitively think. And if you close your mind and you start thinking something like, think of the color yellow, or think of jumping rope. The question is, where is mind and where are you thinking? It's like, does it feel like it's inside your head? Does it feel like it's around you? Thoughts are interesting things because they don't seem to have any energy of themselves, yet they do. And they're actually the way we create in life. So the reason why I called this theater of the mind is because we think things, but our mind doesn't really know the difference between our imagination and what we're taking in. Our brain doesn't know it, the way it processes it in the body. It doesn't know whether we're having an actual physical experience or whether we're just running some thoughts through the mind. And so it really is a theater. There's a script. Kathy, move to the next one. We have chatter. We have songs. We have creativity. A lot of it's repetition. Things just going over and over and over and over again in our minds. We have praise. We have doubt. There's all sorts of things that happen in our mind. And it's really amazing because sometimes it comes out of nowhere. Especially when you get a song, all of a sudden there's a song there. It's like, where did the song go? Come from? And then you can't get rid of it. How do you get it out of your head? Same thing with the repetition of thought patterns, especially when you're stressed. It's like, where do those come from? And why do they keep repeating themselves? And why do you create these crazy scenarios in the future? Just stories. Just making them up and getting ourselves so stressed. So this is theater. This is totally theater of the mind. Go on to the next one. So the question is, who put them there? And who wrote the script? And who are the characters? And who's directing the show? Who put them there? You could say outside influences, but really you took them in and you put them there. And who wrote the script? It's the same thing. You have experiences, but you're the one that's scripting what's in your head. And who are the characters? You create all the characters. You create the roles that you play. You create the villains and the heroes and the super people and the little baby victims or whatever. You create all of these in your head. And then who's directing the show? You do. The answer is all about you. And the directing especially is the place that we can control when we begin to manage the mind. So let's go on to the next one. And again, what and where is this mind performance? Where is it really going on? We know it's a part of us, but it really is a performance when you think about it every day. It's a performance. And how you want to play is completely up to you. So change the slide. Okay, so who are you really? Now we have a combination of aspects of who we are. I like to work with wheels, cardinal points, things like that, because they're extremely important and they bring a different energy to who we are. So we're body, we're an electromagnetic, sensory, chemical, complex, functioning, super efficient. It's like we don't have to think about how the body works. It just happens. And it's an amazing, amazing, amazing physical machine, maybe. And it moves us about in the physical. It helps us create in the physical. We're also emotion. Part of it's innate. Part of it is impacted by experiences that we have. Both of these, the body and the emotion, are impacted by experiences and beliefs that we take on. And emotion is a key part of it. Emotion actually helps us create our experience and our beliefs. And it's also a chemical, sensory experience for us. Then we move on to mind. Mind's an incredible processor. It's also electromagnetic. It's also sensory. There's thoughts that are both creative and they're troubling. And they're constantly whirling about. And they move quicker. I wish there was a way to track exactly how many thoughts we have every single day. And I think we would be astounded by the thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts. And mind is not the same as the brain. The brain is the physical piece, but the mind is so much greater than that. And our mind can travel to all different dimensions, different places, different imaginary scenes. Our mind is quite incredible. And then we have spirit. We can say it's a life connection. We can say it's our passion. We can say it's a connection to a higher power, to God, intuition, all those things. But what's incredible about us as human beings is that we are each one of these things. And when one of them goes down or one of them is impacted, it impacts the other three. If we have a very emotional experience, like someone close to us passes away, it impacts our body. We have a hard time functioning. It impacts our mind. We get so depressed. And when those things seem very depressed, our link to spirit may even be challenged. And it's the same thing when you're hurt physically, when your body is injured. It's very difficult to sit and tap into higher levels of mind. It's difficult to get out of emotion. So each one of these things has an impact on us. Today, we're just going to really talk about mind and how we can actually manage it and work with it. So let's go on to the next slide. So here we've got body brain. We have brain centers throughout our body. And what's amazing is that in simple terms, what ends up happening is we have an experience. We process this through the brain and the body as well. Different chemicals are produced which create different emotions. Different emotions also create chemicals that impact responses in the body, which send more information back to the brain, which creates some thought processes. And when we get in this brain body loop, sometimes things get cemented in the cellular. Sometimes things get cemented so deep in us that all we need to do is have a similar experience or hear of a similar experience, and all the same emotions begin to come up. And all the same thoughts start happening, and all the memories come flooding through, which sends us back into that loop all over again. So the challenge here is, how do we stop the mind from going deep into each one of those experiences and actually, in some cases, let them go and release them? So this is really, it's important. So let's go to the next slide. So is this conscious or unconscious? Conscious or subconscious? Those are the questions. And are you in control of that mind theater? Now, definitions for me of each one of these, I understand subconscious to be things or beliefs that we've taken on that we believe are true. There are things that we react to, and it doesn't mean that they are true. It means we believe they are true. And we get a lot of things buried in the subconscious when we're small children, because we're seeing things from a point of view from the mind where we don't have reasoning mind yet. We take everything for face value. So if our parents are angry, we may just think it deals with us, and another situation comes up and it buries it. And it becomes a subconscious reaction for us when we hear certain words or we hear certain tones of voice. Unconscious is the things we don't quite understand or things that scare us. They also get buried deep inside. We don't even know they're there most of the time. We don't believe necessarily that they're true, but they had a traumatic impact, and we also react from that. And those kinds of things come up, especially traumas. A lot of traumas can be buried in the unconscious mind. Conscious mind, though, is where we're at when we're walking around in the 3D, doing things every single day. We're awake, we're aware, and we're moving about in this world, paying attention to things. However, we may think we're conscious, and what ends up happening is all of a sudden our mind drifts to something that's a subconscious thought, or it may drift to some unconscious fear, simply by what we've experienced in our lives. So our mind's constantly moving between these things all the time. There's also superconscious. And superconscious is an experience that we may have when it's like a higher dimensional realm. It's like visions of angels, near-death experiences, incredible things happening in dreams, seeing things that you don't really believe are real, but they're there and they're real. A lot of times that's the superconscious mind stepping in. And the question is, are you really controlling any of this? Or is it just sort of going on in your life? And that's where we've trained ourselves to be in most cases, is we're just here kind of watching the show and getting all caught up in the emotion of it, and getting all caught up in the experience, and not really observing what's going on, not really being in control of it. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this is kind of a little summary. I'm just going to go ahead and read it. It says, as we grow, we develop our own patterns, strategies, and beliefs through our experiences. As a baby, we come in without the experiences, at least not very many, though we do know that the baby experiences in the womb. And the baby is already creating patterns in the mind by experience it's having. It can hear the fights that the parents are having. It can hear the love and the sweet songs. And each one of those is already developing patterns in the brain and the mind for the child. If things are repeated enough or traumatic enough, these experiences settle into our subconscious and unconscious and are used automatically whenever they're needed. So when something repeats itself or it's shocking enough, and that again is that emotional piece that cements it in, those higher emotions are what cements things into our being. Or repetition will cement things into our being. So they become automatic. It's just like when we learn to tie shoes. When we learn to tie shoes, we do it over and over and over and over and over again. Or we learn how to write and we do it over and over and over and over and over again. And pretty soon they become automatic. The autonomic nervous system just kind of kicks in and takes over. But the difference is we're always changing. And a lot of times we find in our lives that we are growing on automatic, but it's not really serving us anymore. And we're living on old patterns and old beliefs, but they're not making any sense. It doesn't work for us. And we're still reacting from these old patterns and beliefs, but we know they're not right. For instance, with me, a fear of public speaking. I don't even know when it was cemented into me. I do know I hit a point in my life where that fear, there was something inside of me that said, I have something to say. Yet the fear was keeping me back. And it's not serving me, and I know it. And it doesn't mean that it's easy to get out of that program. Kind of like a computer, you feed it a program, but sometimes there's updates or there's new operating systems and the old programs just don't work. We're very much like that. Artificial intelligence is definitely created based a lot on who we are as human beings. We create it, we put in what we know. So When the program doesn't serve anymore, that's when we get to change it. So let's go to the next slide. So talking about managing your mind, this is really taking yourself from the perspective of being a victim. Everything's always happening to me and I'm reacting this way, you know, to one of a creator that we're saying, I love this. I'm creating this. This is so cool. I could have gotten upset with some circumstances that I had with floods in my office where we had to move really quickly. Having different things drop in my life. But instead of saying, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, it was more of, wow, I created this. This is kind of amazing. And the flood in particular and the moving the office, I wanted to get out of there. I didn't want to be locked into a lease for another year. I didn't know how to get out of it. I was like, we're just going to move. We're going to move. And so when the flood came, instead of me going, oh my God, everything's soaking wet, I'm sort of running around the office going, this is awesome. I created it. This is so awesome. We get to move. And it was a complete flip of the way you might look at it. Reaction to action is the other thing, because when you're stuck in those patterns and they're rolling around in your brain and you're thinking these crazy thoughts and you're wondering where the heck they're coming from, you're in total reaction mode. And it's building upon itself. Today I heard a story from a coach I have about, and one of the people was just like building stories off of things that were going on with them instead of being really grounded and present in what was going on. And he started telling a story about a person who had a flat tire in the dark at night, and he sees a house, and first thing he's like, yeah, we'll go to the house and I can talk to the guy, you know, the person there, maybe they have a jack and they can help me or something like that. Well, then the light goes out. And then it's like, oh no, they went to bed. Well, I bet they're going to get upset if I come and knock on the door. And, you know, and then they're going to think maybe some bad things are happening, or they're going to be grumpy. And then he goes there and he gets to the door and he's already in this place of all the story of what's going to happen. And he's in this reactionary mode from these crazy thoughts. Instead of just saying, hey, I need to go get help. I need to go take action. Look, there's a light on. Oh, it just turned off. Well, they're not asleep yet. I'll go knock on the door anyway. You know, he got himself into a place where when the guy said, who's down there? What do you need? What's going on? He was like, I'm just going to piss you off anyway. So never mind. I don't need to borrow your jack. Kind of stupid, but you know, that's the way we think about things. And instead of being really clear in our thoughts and making choices and actions, what ends up happening is that most of the time we run around in a reactive mode. So we have to manage our mind and catch ourselves when we get into those places. We have to notice when a thought is repetitive in our head and ask the question, is this serving me? It's incredibly important to do this. And we also need to learn how to plant the thoughts in our mind that we want to repeat, that bring us joy, that bring us calm, that bring us amazing creation. Those are the kind of thoughts we want repeating in our heads, like I'm a Superman, or, you know, the day is so cool, it's so beautiful. And we set those things and we need to repeat them. A lot of times affirmations don't necessarily work because we don't believe them. So we have to find the thoughts that help us change our perspective. We have to find the thoughts of what we want to create and say them over and over and over again, ones that we can believe. That's really the most important thing to do. Until they become so automatic in us, we just know that we're creating the life that we want. So let's go to the next one. I wanted to talk a little bit about natural cycles too, because this is natural for us. This pattern is part of who we are. And we've learned from a young child, repetitive motion is how we learn in the 3D world, in the physical existence. Circles, cycles, flows, and patterns are all existent. They're part of who we are. And part of the circle or part of the cycle is a beginning, a middle, and an end. Things are always changing. Sometimes flows move really quickly. Sometimes flows move very slowly. Sometimes patterns show up repetitiously for us. Those patterns, like those thoughts that we have over and over and over again, create things. The cycles, if we really begin to embrace the idea that life is always changing, there are always beginnings, middles, and ends. Things come back around on themselves. Flows are natural. Sometimes we might perceive them as being not so good for us, and sometimes we perceive them as being amazing. But all of these things are natural, and we see them when we look about in nature. The other day when I was teaching and I was talking about taking a look at nature, looking outside, look at a tree, the diversity of the leaves and the bark, and how amazing each one of these things creates the beauty that we see. And so this is how the mind is as well. The mind perceives things. The old beliefs create the reactions or the thought processes that we have. And it's up to us to change the flow or end the cycle and begin a new one. Or notice the patterns of what's going on in ourselves, not in anybody else, but in ourselves. Because we can't change anybody else, we can only change ourselves. So let's go to the next slide. So I wanted to go into cycles a little bit more. And these are some examples of some cycles that we have. The breath is one. We start a breath, we inhale, we exhale, we hit the end of the breath and the start of a new cycle. There's the cycle between the birth and the growth, decline and death, same thing. There's the cycle in the day. We have the dawn, the day, the sunset, the night. Now we move into the mind a little bit. We have an idea. We expand the possibilities of the idea. Then we contract it down into a focus, and it becomes a creation. Then we have another new idea. Hi, welcome to the call. We have more expanding possibilities. We have more contracting focus, like into detail, and we have creation. Same thing happens when we're working and we're creating something in an organization or in a business or just at home. We kind of do a brain dump. What are all the possibilities? We could do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that. Then it takes organization to start putting all of these things together. So we start pulling all these things, putting in order, creating an organ, so to say. And then we begin to prioritize how we want to do it in order to take action. Again, what do we want to do? So everything involving with us is kind of in these cycles, and we keep moving in these cycles. Everything we create in our lives starts with an idea. When you look around the room that you're in and you can see the furniture and you can see the walls and you can see a light and you can see carpet or you can see little figurines or something, every single thing that's there started as an idea. People expanded on it. They were managing their mind when they did this. Then they began to focus in on the details of what it is that they were going to put together. Get rid of the things that don't really work, keep the things that work. And eventually they came up with their creation. But these cycles deal with mind management. You're running in this cycle, in this natural flow, and you're keeping yourself focused on what's going on. So that's one of the ways of managing your mind, is keeping focus on something. So let's go to the next slide. And you can see, the next couple of slides really kind of have a lot of the ideas and concepts here, so we won't be moving on slide very quickly. But the question is, when you manage your mind, how do you do it? I just said one is focus. It's getting so good at holding focus on something, some idea, some concept, that you can't be interrupted. You don't lose it. Focus is incredibly important. The reason why our minds get crazy and we have all this monkey mind, what are we focusing on? We're focusing on the chatter, the crazy thoughts that are flowing through, creating a panic in us, and we keep building it and building it and building it. You know, where your attention is focused is where the energy goes. So you definitely have to keep yourself focused on the things that you want. That's why things like sticky notes all over your mirror, or on your refrigerator door, or in places that you see them, will help you hold focus for an idea or a concept or something you want to create in your life. Just keep reminding your mind. And you know, this is a natural thing. When I teach meditation classes or relaxation practices, and I'm working with people that I say are maybe more mainstream, I talk about being in the zone, and that this is a natural process for us. When we get so focused on something that we're doing, we block out the sound and the things that are going on around us. We don't hear people talking to us. We don't notice if somebody walks by. It's natural. Going into the zone is natural. The only difference between that and meditating to put yourself into that place is that in meditation, you're consciously doing it. In the other thing, you just slide into it because that's who we are. Another idea, another concept in order to manage your mind is notice your thoughts. We talked about that a little bit earlier. You might keep a journal or something like that, but just notice what you're thinking throughout the day. Stop yourself. Set a timer or something like that and just notice. You'll probably notice that you repeat yourself a lot. You may notice that you can go from one place to another so automatically that you don't even realize. Like, try holding focus or your thoughts on the car in front of you when you're driving. See how long you can hold that before you completely lose it and you don't remember what happened to the car that was right in front of you. You don't even notice because your mind's taken off somewhere else. but notice what you're thinking. A lot of times using the shower is a great place to do meditations and stuff, or to catch your thoughts, or to go in right before you're going to sleep and notice the thoughts you're having and program in the thoughts that you want. Another idea on how to manage your mind is changing your perspective on things, changing the way you look at them, especially things that you're tolerating, because those things you either need to end or accept, or they're going to drain your energy. So watch how your mind goes especially when there's something you're tolerating, and see how you have to change your perspective on it. Sometimes, and it's really interesting, especially if you have a partner, someone you're around all the time, one thing may completely send them crazy into reactionary mode. And they're just like going off about it, and you're looking at them like, I don't get this. Why are you thinking that way? Or why are you behaving that way? It's because my perspective of what's going on is completely different than what their perspective is that's going on. And those are all things. Stay in the question. Like, why do you suppose that thing's really bothering them and it doesn't bother me? The more we can go inside ourselves, the more we can look at what's happening, the more we get to know ourselves, the more we can manage our mind. And we can begin to create from mind instead of getting stuck in the chatter or creating things that we don't want. So the next thing is create calm. And the easiest way to create calm is with the breath. Sitting down. And at the end of this, I have a little thank you gift for you, which is a meditation that you can download if you go to my website. And it's really a way of creating calm, creating focus, getting yourself really centered. And it's one that if you practice over and over again, you can literally do sitting at a stoplight, or just taking 2 minutes to do a couple breaths and get yourself right back in focus again. But the breath is a connection to us in life, and it's a connection to the higher realms. Science is showing that when we breathe and we contract muscles, we can send energy up to the brain, to the pineal gland, which literally lights up. And it helps light up the rest of our body, and it creates connections in the quantum field. So breathing is incredibly important if you want to learn how to manage your mind. Another thing with managing your mind is take responsibility for the thoughts that are there. They're just you, and it's not right and it's not wrong. But the next thing on there is, if you don't like it, change it. A lot of your thoughts are based on where you've been, what you know, what your experiences have been, what you've learned. So if it's something that serves you, great. Own it. I know this. Because if you know something deep inside of you, then other things are not going to impact it. If you know, for instance, that you have, say, a certain healing ability, then own it and take responsibility for it. So manage the mind, because sometimes the doubts of experiences will come in as well. But if you know it's real, don't let those doubts jump in anymore. Just repeat to yourself that I know this works. I know this. And have it so clear in you that the old thought patterns disappear. You know, when we repeat and repeat, they used to say it took about 7 years to create habits or create things in yourself. So if we've taken all this time to repeatedly think the same way or do the same things over and over again, wouldn't it make sense to you that if we repeated something else over and over again, then the old things would just disappear? The neural nets that get formed in the brain that they wire and fire together as we think things, as we experience, as we repeat what we're doing over and over again, as long as they're continually firing, as long as they are continually reminded to do things, we think the same way. So if we want to eliminate some of those old patterns, we have to start thinking new. We have to put new stuff in. We need to experience some things, even if it's running something through your mind over and over again. There's studies that show piano players, when they're given a piece of music, if they sit down and they play it, physically play it, they create a skill. When they run it through their minds, they create almost exactly the same skill. So that using the imagination or using the mind to repeat and run through things over and over again, that's how I managed my mind when I went to Nepal. When I went to Nepal, and I was going to be gone for a month, and I was going to be trekking to the Everest Base Camp, and I'd never really camped before. So you can imagine all of the crazy thoughts that were going through my head. So I would sit down every night before I went to bed, and I would imagine myself being out in the cold, being out with the snow, going into a tent, curling up in my sleeping bag, feeling all cozy, feeling safe, really enjoying the experience. I repeated this every day. I created the experience in my mind. And when I got to Nepal, out of the 13 people in our group, I was the only person who had no stomach issues, no illnesses, no altitude sickness, nothing. Because I'd already primed my mind to be there. And my mind primed my body to be there. And so when I got there, it was like, I'm going to have a great time. I have no time to be sick. I have no time to be tired. I have no time to feel the cold. And I even envisioned myself getting out of the tent, dancing around in the snow. I annoyed a lot of people the day that it actually snowed. And I jumped out of my tent going, this is so cool, it's snowing. And I'm hearing all these people going, shut up. But you can create this experience long before you ever do it in the physical. That's how we create disease in our body. We hold the stress. The stress there's an impact. We create the disease. So let's just reverse it. Let's take charge of what we're thinking and what we're believing. When any of these doubts come up, when any of these negative thoughts come up, dismiss them. Plug something else in that makes a lot more sense to you. So another way of managing your mind is to make lists. When you write something down, not only do you kind of burn it into your brain, but you take the worry out of your head. So if there's things that you want to do, make lists. If there's things that you want to complete, make lists. get this stuff out of your head so you're not stressing and watching the clock and wasting all this energy. Because your mind will go to that place of, oh no, what time is it? If you set a timer on your clock and say, I'm taking this many minutes to do this, and you eliminate the stress of having to continually look at the clock, you've got a whole lot more time. So make your lists, manage your time. If you're going to do something that seems like a time waster to some people, but to you, maybe it's a stress relief. Maybe it's playing a game or watching videos or, whatever it is. Give yourself permission. Don't let other people's ideas and thoughts come and jump in your head. Give yourself permission. Do it. If it's something fun that you like to do, say, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes because it's fun and it's cool. But manage the time. Don't let yourself get so caught up in it that all of a sudden you're stressing and all the wild thoughts are going on in your head that, oh my God, I don't have enough time now because I just spent all my time on this other thing. Yeah, we're crazy people. And that's what my elder will say is like, get over yourself. Quit letting yourself get in the way and do what you want to do. Removing negatives is another thing. When you Google something and you put in a negative, it doesn't search with the negative in there. It only searches for that noun, that verb, or something like that. Our mind's exactly the same way. When we put in the negatives and we say things like, I don't want this to happen, that's exactly what will happen because our mind focuses on it. So if you find yourself using don't, can't, no, never, any of those negatives, stop yourself, catch your thought, change it into a way that is much more serving for you. So it's like, I can't sleep right now because this is gonna, I need to do this. The last thing you want to have happen is sleep. So instead you want to turn it around and just say, I am so alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. This is cool. This is fun. So put those things in. And another thing, managing your mind, is imagining. We talked a little bit about that. Imagining, dreaming. Dream it so. Because if you can't see it, you can't create it. And if you can't imagine it in its vivid detail, you can't create it. And if the doubts start coming up, just say, well, you don't serve me anymore, and get rid of it. Because then what'll happen is the really fun life experiences will start happening. I think I shared in the beginning that I was just about 11 days ago, I was given guardianship of a 7-month-old while parents are working out some things. And it was a choice that I made. I knew the impact when they asked me if I would do this. But the other thing that showed up for me in this was the fact that I had been dreaming about how can I better offer some services to mothers and fathers of small children? How can they have the time to learn? And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I brought this in. I'm having a live experience right now. And it's pretty cool to be able to manifest that in your life so that you can experience it. I wasn't clear that, hey, just drop the idea in my head. It was more asking, what does it feel like? Or how do they do it? And all of that. So now I'm getting to experience how they do it. And how can I create something that they might be able to learn or listen from, that it's one of those know your audience, and the best way to do it is experience it. So imagine and dream and create the things that you want to create. So let's go on to the next page. And these are some practices that I want to share with you. And before I go on, I think I want to take just a minute to see if anybody has any questions or any comments to this point, or any thoughts I'd be willing to answer or share. Okay. Then I'll go on. Let's see, Jade, did you have something? I saw you unmute.
No, I'm okay.
All righty. So I want to talk about practices. One of the most amazing, and this is a little exercise, I'm going to explain it to you. This is one I learned years ago, and it helps you create focus and manage the thoughts in your head. It was a requirement in a class that I took to learn how to manage my thoughts. And it's called the candle exercise. So what you need is like a little candle, like a little tea light candle or something. Flames are interesting to look at, so they hold your attention and your focus a little bit more. So you need that, a piece of paper, a pen or pencil, and a timer that you can set for 10 minutes. So you light your candle, you have the paper and pencil in front of you, and you set your timer for 10 minutes. And then you focus on the candle, on the flame. Every time you notice your mind straying, like, oh, I heard this noise, or oh, I have an itch, or oh, what should I make for dinner tonight? Or whatever thousands of thoughts come into your head, you put a little tick mark on the paper. The first time I did this exercise, I swear I had 100 tick marks in 10 minutes because my mind was all over the place. But again, repetition and practice over, it was like a 4-month or 6-month period of time. Not only did we do 10 minutes, but we upped it to 15. And at the end of that time period, I had 3 marks on my paper in 15 minutes. So if you really want to get rid of the mind chatter and be able to focus on something that you want to focus on, whether it's holding it for a meditation or a channeling, whether you want to hold it for a focus on a project, this exercise works. And it's simple, and it takes 10 minutes out of your day. And if you do it faithfully every single day, if it becomes part of your routine, you will have amazing results. So it's just the candle, the paper, the pencil, and the timer. And just practice it. And you're going to find in this that there's some days that no matter what you do, your mind is not going to shut up. And on those days, just keep bringing your attention back to the flame and be really easy on yourself and say, I love you. I know I'm making progress, because what happens is the mind, it's a job, the ego's job is to keep you protected. It's to keep you super comfortable, not take risks. So it will fight you in this, guaranteed. You're doing something out of the norm and it's not going to like it. So breathe a couple times before you start. Do your 10 minutes. And then see how you progress over time. And it will help you in just about everything that you do. Another practice, well, I'll ask, does anyone have any questions or is that pretty clear? Yeah. Okay. Another practice that's really, really fascinating and amazing is a morning ritual. I started doing these Create Your Day a long, long time ago. I think Dr. Joe Dispenza had Create Your Day that kind of spun off of, was it The Secret he was in or one of those? And he did a little Create Your Day meditation. The best time to do this is early in the morning. And I found a book, it was called God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days. And it was all about creating your day. And it was about setting your intention and your focus. And there were a whole bunch of little exercises in it. And the first one I decided to try was deciding first thing in the morning that I was going to see green cars. All day long, I was surrounded by green cars. And there were other little exercises in this book that you could do as well. But one of the things in this morning ritual in creating your day is that you're setting the template for everything you want to do in a day. I use one from my Cherokee Elder, which is, may I see 1,000 beautiful things and meet 100 amazing people. Or may I touch 100 amazing things. I also do meditations where I'll run scenarios in my mind, especially if I have something big to do that day, or it looks like the day might be really complicated. I'll just run a scenario through my head of everything flowing smoothly. Those kind of practices in the beginning of the day start you off running. They start you off in a great mood. They start you off in the future, not waking up and remembering and getting out of bed and remembering what happened yesterday and the crappy things that went on or this and that and stuff, because then you're starting your day living in the past. And you don't want to do that. You want to create the day that you want to create. So drop in the things that you want. And do this when you're laying in bed. Allow yourself a couple extra minutes. Or our coach, Kathy and I have a coach, he does something in his morning ritual, which is something for his body, something for his emotions, something for his mind, and something for his spirit. That's his little ritual. You create the one that works for you. Mine is laying still before I get out of bed and imagining all the amazing things that could happen in the day. When I'm in that half awake, half dream place. So another practice is a thought log, observing your thoughts. And you might do this several different ways, which is kind of like, you may just set an alarm certain times, and whatever you're thinking when the alarm goes off, you write down. You might wear a string, and every time you notice the string, you think about the thoughts that you're having. Or you may get good enough just to sort of observe your thoughts and bring yourself back to them all the time. In tandem with that is observe your feelings. Getting in touch with exactly asking yourself, how do I feel right now? And if it's like, okay, I have a knot in my gut, It's like, why? Why is there a knot in my gut? Get curious. Start asking questions. You know, why am I feeling down? I know after hitting menopause, I have certain days when I wake up and I just feel weird. It's like, I don't know what it is. I don't feel like I'm me. Don't know where it's coming in. I'll sit down and do a meditation and say, what is this about? What is this feeling about? Sometimes it's just the hormones. And then I need to do something to change them. But observing thoughts and observing feelings, becoming the observer of your life trains your mind. Another practice that you can have is a 10 most wanted list. They're pretty cool. The top 10 things that you would like to create over the next 30 days. And you can rank them in order of priority if you want to, but write them down everywhere. Sticky notes in different things. I had a friend who did this, and she wanted a car. She had no money. She wanted a blue car. She didn't know where it was going to come from. And through the process of the 30 days, she had a blue car gifted to her. So it's not necessarily thinking really hard about stuff. What it is creating this list and you read it in the morning and you read it before you go to bed at night and you read it, put it up on your mirror when you brush your teeth. Because what you're doing is you're telling your mind, this is what I want. Here's my top 10 things I want. And you're reminding it. It's creating those neurons. It's creating the neural nets in your head. It's creating the awareness that when the really cool stuff shows up, you're aware enough to notice it. You're not lost in the mind chatter. And then finally, on the list of practices for managing your mind is meditation. And that is not just sitting down and getting centered and clearing your mind and focusing on one thing. It is pulling yourself into a meditative state as many ways as you possibly can. Whether it's walking meditation, whether it's guided meditations, whether it's focusing, just breathing and listening to a song that inspires you. All of those are meditations. Meditation is really the science of focused concentration on a particular something. It has an impact physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually for you. And when you learn some other practices about really how to elevate those, some of those, which I do like some of the things that Dr. Joe Dispenza has in his new book, Becoming Supernatural. He's got some great meditative practices that I have had some incredible results from them. So these practices, the candle exercise, the morning rituals, the observation of thoughts and feelings, even creating a log of them, a 10 most wanted list, and meditation. Each one of those will quiet your mind or help you become more aware when the craziness starts so that you can take the action so you're not the victim anymore. You're actually the creator and you're actually the driver of what's going on. Because we weren't taught from the time, especially in these Western worlds, we weren't taught how to be the driver of our mind. We were taught to be the passenger. We weren't taught to write the play, to create the script, to direct the play. in that theater of the mind. We were taught to just come in and experience it in its many shapes and fashions. Many times the teaching was to go to the negative. So these practices will help you and incorporate them any way that you would like. And so let's go on to the next. So this is kind of just, write your own play. First comes the thought. This is Napoleon Hill. He was amazing. First comes the thought, then comes the organization of that thought. And it means it doesn't matter if it's a great thought, it's a creative thought, or a negative thought. The first comes the thought, then the organization of that thought, and that moves into ideas and plans, which is sort of the stories we create if it's on the negative side. Then the transformation of those plans into reality. The beginning, as you will observe, he says, is in your imagination. So we can imagine the most coolest stuff in the whole world and everything that we want to create, or we can imagine this incredible building upon each other negative thoughts and doubts and chatter that drives us into the whole. And it's our choice when we notice our thoughts and we actually direct them. So yeah, the thought is a key, and managing those is key. So that's about the end. I've got 2 more here. One is the next slide. Just in appreciation, I told you this before, I want to give you a small gift. It's a meditation that incorporates the 4 elements, basically the body, the emotions, the mind, and the spirit. And you can do it. It just involves the breath in each one of those. And if you learn this meditation, it will definitely bring you back to center. And so just go to my website, trinaleecooper.com. And at the bottom of the page is a little link. You just log in there and you can see that meditation. So it's one that I absolutely love. I teach in a lot of my classes, and so it's just a free gift for you. And then finally, the last slide. Both of us have great appreciation, Kathy and I both do, for everything you guys coming on, joining us every month. Like Kathy said before, some of the things that we do deal specifically with conscious business, how to create things in your business, how to drive your business. Sometimes they're personal development. It kind of depends on, I guess, our mood of the day, what we decide we want to put together. But if you have any ideas or things that you would like to hear about, we'd love to hear from you. My information is Trina Lee Cooper. I provide tools to truly live consciously. I also run a center called Journeys for Conscious Living. And you can find me, or you can email me at tlc@trinaleecooper.com, or my website is trinaleecooper.com. And my phone number is 303-550-4223. And then Kathy has Mason Works Marketing, and you can find her at masonworksmarketing.com. And you can email her at Kathy@masonworksmarketing.com. And her number is 720-938-2536. And we just really enjoy sharing some of these things with you. Love feedback. We've got a couple more minutes, so if anyone has any questions or comments, Kathy, you too, let me know.
Trina, Selena, if you're still on, why don't you say hello? Selena's a friend of mine up from Canada.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Selena.
Oh, okay. Hi. I wasn't expecting to speak. So, yes, as Jade said, I'm from Canada. Yes. I don't know how to get my picture up there if I can do that, but uh, anyway,
If
yes,
you
I'm
look
from.
down the bottom of the screen, it'll pull up a little bar and it'll show
Mhm.
audio, kind of where you unmuted your
Far left,
audio
and then the
on the left.
is stop video. It is.
Okay.
Yeah, there you are.
There you
Oh,
are.
it's kind of
Hi.
dark. Hi. I was, like I said, I wasn't expecting to be on video, but here I am. Yeah.
Hi. Good to meet
So
you.
good to meet you, and I enjoyed your sharing for this evening. And yeah, I have my work is working with very closely with the earth and connecting with earth energies and ancient wisdom. So I'm very much immersed in uncovering the truth of who we are in our through ancient teachings. And yeah, I've got a lot to uncover in terms of how to bring that online. It seems to be quite the task, so I congratulate you on being able to do so.
Okay, so here's another tool. This
Mhm.
is one that grandmother gave us a long time ago. It's called Stop Change. And so if there's things that you want to do, you can find a partner, somebody that you work with, and anytime they hear you bringing up the doubts or the thoughts that, oh, this is going to be too hard or this isn't going to work or something like that, you end up with a buddy that just goes, stop, change. And it kind of catches you in the middle, and sometimes you're not even aware of the things that you're saying, and then they have to repeat it back to you. But any of those things that you would like to switch, especially if there's a negative or a doubt, look for an accountability partner, or listen to yourself. Recording yourself sometimes while you're talking is still awesome, because you'll catch yourself saying things that are just like, oh my gosh, did that just come out of my mouth? Because remember, whatever it is that you want to create, if you want to put it out in the world, and this, I got to tell you, I am like the queen of this, because I was so afraid,
Right.
or it seemed so difficult, or I doubted myself so much. Continually putting myself in a place, even doing the videos is like, Kathy says, do more videos. And I just go, ah!
Right.
Now I'm going, yep, I need to do more videos. So
wonderful.
Yeah, but thank you for sharing that, because those ideas, and I really applaud you for being back with nature as well.
Yeah.
It's something that many people nowadays are never taught, the connection with nature.
Yeah.
There's a huge place for this in the world now. People are craving it. So I do hope you start speaking and doing little videos and talking about the importance of touching in with nature.
Yes.
And what it teaches us. Because they're not teaching it in schools.
Yeah.
Parents aren't teaching it to their kids.
Yeah.
And that's who we are. We all come from the fire. We all come from that nature-based tradition. If we go back in our lineages, so it's rooted in us and in ourselves.
I think there's also the potential of doing your own rituals, ceremonies, being outside, the video content in which Kathy and Trina are doing are teaching others this way.
Right.
What I was visualizing, they were talking about you, Selena, is you're always in nature. You're always doing ritual. You're always creating. Maybe there's another way to also capture that, where people can just tune in
Yeah.
and go, oh, that's that thing I can't do because I'm 9 to 5. Selena is
Right.
so opposite from 9 to 5, and she lives on her own clock and her own cycles and flows. And that's also something that the spirit of self and the Aboriginals teach it, but not that many people do outside of that I know of, is how does one live a life that looks like that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many creative ways.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't live, and you're not tied into the money market system also, Selena. This is
Right.
important. Most of us are working within the Babylonian magic money system. It's okay. We can use it for positive as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have to do that grind, and you can be an entrepreneur like Kathy and Trina,
Yeah.
and yourself in your own unique way, I think it could be really fun. That's the thing about the internet. It can be
Yeah.
anything. I find myself Googling and looking around on YouTube and finding fascinating things. We draw to us what our mind is wanting.
Mm-hmm.
We do. It just comes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, Nahid.
anyway, just sharing that.
Hi, Nahid. We're almost finished.
She turns it. I know
Oh,
she
you just started.
Hi, dear.
Hello, dear.
We're almost done.
Hey there.
You said 7 to 9 Mountain.
Well, that was the old time. I think you might have gotten the first email. I goofed. I had it originally 7 to 9, and then we changed it to 5:30 to 7. But I can send you this recording.
Would you please do that?
Yes, dear. Yeah, I'd love to talk to you. Are you coming this way? Are you?
Yeah, I am coming November 15 to 19 to Barbara, and then I'm going to stay for 3-4 weeks.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Well, we'll play because Ted's going to India for a couple months.
Oh,
So I need a playmate.
again. I am.
Watch out, Boulder.
Well, I was on the seminar Awakening to New Species with Barbara, and it ends at 6:30. So I've been very punctual to come on time.
Oh,
Not to miss
sorry. Yeah, well, that was my mistake probably about the time.
So please send me there. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to that one.
Okay, bye, dear. Love you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Well, I wanted to share just real quick. I know we're over time, but I just spent 5 days in LA at an event called VID Summit, VID SUMMIT, that started 5 years ago with 80 people. And now there were 1,500 people there. And they were all conscious. And it was mostly men. I mean, there was probably 70% men, which when you look at most of the conscious things that we do, the teachings and the classes, usually it's a majority are women with a sprinkle of men. Well, this was men talking about how to work in team and no ego. It was amazing. These people that have thousands or some of them had millions of followers on YouTube, and they're making 7 figures a year. They would do a speech and then they'd sit down and take notes on the next person's. I mean, it was phenomenal. It made you feel like, yes, it's really happening. Yes, people are waking up. Yes, they see the value of kindness, and they see the possibility of having love energy and creative expression be the norm rather than fit in this box and be quiet to be a good girl and you'll get love if you do this. I think it's breaking wide open. And it was so exciting. I mean, I came back just like, I don't know how much I can put into practice right away from it, but the enthusiasm that I got, because everyone had their technical equipment and they were sharing, well, I use this, I do a podcast doing that. And it was amazing. It was just amazing. So what we're seeing is there's the near-death experiencers that are totally full of love. I was on a panel 2 weekends ago with them. I was the only woman on the panel. I was the token woman. It's okay. I can do it. But I think what you're seeing is that there's all these different pockets. It's not just gurus following spiritual people. There's this new concept, and it probably came from the millennials rejecting what our parents taught us. You know, maybe it came through that and it just was its time. But you're seeing it everywhere, expressed in all different ways, in pockets of co-creation without judgment and with joy of the creation itself. And that's what working with the earth, that's what we were supposed to be doing from the beginning. And we got the wrong memo. Well, I think I did. I was trying to be a good girl to get love because I couldn't figure out how you got love. You know, the conditional love stuff.
Right.
So, but anyway.
I'm seeing a lot of men too. It's so surprising to me.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah, it's really incredible. And you know, I'm having like this real life experience, which is with this baby and having to work through a human service process that was completely foreign to me. I haven't been through that, and it made me realize that the privilege that I have, the both born into but also earned, and but watching the people, and as I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm watching the people bring their kids, or they're just kind of like drooping and sort of resigned to the fact of what they're doing without excitement, without, it's just sort of like going through the motions of living, which is really very interesting. And at the same time, I have this son who not only he created this business, he sold it 2 days ago, or yesterday, I guess it was, for a crazy amount of money. It was like $429 million for his 6 years of building this business. And he's excited, but he says to me, he's like, I said, John, so, you staying in the business or what are you doing? He goes, I have to be there for a while and stuff, but I wrote it into the contract that I can start my next one. And I'm like, you're going to start the next one? He goes, oh yeah, I have a whole idea and concept on biofuels or I don't know, it's some kind of energy technology. And he's ready to like move and reinvent himself from one place over to the next thing, just like that. And here I am having these experiences all like within a very small time frame.
Cool.
Of certain people one way, other people another way. And I'm asking myself, what is it that is infused in one that isn't infused in the other? Or what is it that's awake in one that isn't awake in the other?
Well,
or what is it that's connected in one and isn't connected in the other?
Well, that was one of the things they talked about. Was this one guy was bragging that he had been fired 23 times and he had only had 22 jobs. He got fired twice they took him back and then he got fired again. And those people have no fear. They're not afraid of failing. They see failing as a positive, whereas the other people in the system are so afraid of failing, they're staying within the lines.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it was so interesting just pondering that, because staying in the question about everything that's going on in life and just continually asking the questions motivates your mind, and it starts looking for the answers. And so I was just, pondering some of these things and stuff, and I was working on my calendar, and I opened up to a page and there was nothing there. And all of a sudden this thought just hit me about creating my life. And I'm like, I'm writing these things in my calendar. I am literally creating my life. And I'm continually dropping things in and dropping things in. But there was this vividness about creating my life that I start with a blank page, and every morning I wake up and I don't have to be the person I was yesterday. And I don't have to do the things I did yesterday. And I don't have to live in that place. I can sit here and say, these are the things I'm dropping in now. And it was so clear and so vivid. And then I get the reflection back, like from him of, you know, he's not looking back. He's looking at what's the next thing? What's the next thing I can create? So this difference between just sort of being in it and being that sort of victim or whatever and being the creator in it, way different energy. Just really different energy.
So to take this conversation into a similar direction as to the topic, but maybe not what we're describing here, is earlier today I was on a laptop, I was on computer, I ended up on YouTube listening to a panel of people talking, and one of the gentlemen, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect.
One of the gentlemen was talking about remote viewing. And that's his talent, that's his skill. And a lot of people in the audience were asking questions back to them because the theme of the conference was how to raise your consciousness. And I'm still, even in Boulder, surprised at the questions of people not really understanding what remote viewing is, for one, and how it relates to something we've been doing as human beings since the dawning of time, from the observer self. And then also my personal practices are I go from the observer self to outside the observer into soul. And both have a very unique purpose. But it's like you say, if you don't make the lists, the practice, or have the discipline, you can get a little lazy. You can take things for granted. And that's the thing I don't want to do. But I was back to this is I was so surprised. People do not know how to access various levels of contemplation. They don't know how to create their own lives. They don't know that they're creating from top down.
Right.
And so, you know, it's great for us of like minds to come together. Like Kathy said, it can be extremely exciting because she's really honed in on those platforms. But how do you reach the everyday person?
Well, you have the opportunity by each one of us that goes to that field more and more. You're affecting the global consciousness.
Yes.
And that can be your intent, that you light yourself up as a lighthouse. Right. And when you walk into a room, that those lower energies, everybody has to come up to, on the spiral of energy, they spiral up rather than stay down. Right. And they might not know why they feel so good, but they'll feel the love. Mm-hmm. That's what it's more about, expressing love. And that's, I think, part of the reason we embodied now.
Yes, Kathy.
I mean, we stood in line to get these bodies.
Oh, I'd like to change mine up.
I should have ordered longer legs.
I'll put it on my list.
That's on your list. That's on mine too.
Yeah, I want to be younger.
You look.
Yeah, I wish I could be like. I wish I could be like 20 now and
Me too.
know what I know.
Know what I know. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, they do know, a lot of these younger kids. And what we want to do is we want to show them a way to be in the world, not of the world, but in the world. That's what I kind of feel like we're bridge. They call us the way showers, the early adopters. Mm-hmm. And then we have the chance to really make it okay for them to express themselves completely. Whereas it wasn't necessarily okay for us if we were trying to please our parents.
Yeah. And they're asking a lot more intelligent questions, Kathy, the young ones. They're really, when I had my women's group, I was shocked. And then, you know, what's ironic is you know your place in the world when you're helping a different generation. So the older ones help us, we help the younger ones, or it intermingles as it does naturally, right, in community. But when I sat down and got to hear their questions, concerns, they're so insightful, so intelligent. The only thing I find is they're looking for a little, just a tiny bit of guidance, like the way showing, like grandmother does so well. Just who is that elder? Where are the pillars in our community? How are they experiencing masculine, feminine at this time on the earth? You know, I only have my reflection. What is the other reflection? And so I love being around them. And I hope, Trina, you attract more of that. There is some young millennials there at your gathering, and they're really powerful, even in their fear, because there's a little bit of that. They're still powerful.
Very much so. And that they were like, one of the young ladies actually, she said to me, I feel so good knowing that there's other people that think things that I think or know things that I know, because I thought I was alone. And I'm 20 years old and I'm thinking I'm alone and nobody understands it. And she goes, I don't care how old anybody is. I'm just happy to know there's other people that think some of the things I think. So yeah, they're out there for sure. They are so out there. And you know, just like there's the others that, you know, think a completely different way, but it's, you know, it is about, that's what we talked about was, you know, becoming uncomfortable, becoming vulnerable, opening yourself up to see the other person for who they are and what they know and how they love, and you know, and that's the feminine energy. It's the opening up and receiving and nurturing and caring and all of that. And it's and it's strong. It's not weak. It's very, very, very strong.
Have you two ever thought about doing something at the Star House?
I don't know, but we could.
I just saw that run through my mind.
It's the wrong time of year, but
Right.
because anytime it snows, they close it. So you have a whole thing all planned in it. Oh, well.
They have some new moon, full moon stuff going on up there. I think it's mostly driven by not David, but his partner.
Leela. No, they're not there right now. They're still trying to sell it. I was in Crestone.
Yeah.
And someone said, I know who's buying the Star House. And I said, well, who? And they said, we can't say. So that was 3 weeks ago. So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Selena, you weren't on the call, but Kathy just spent time in Crestone with
Roberto Gonzalez.
And the coach, right?
No, the Koji were there after I was there. I got to meet the several of the Koji at Sunrise Ranch.
Yeah.
I didn't get to be with them in Crestone. I was there the weekend before they went. And Crestone, I loved that energy. Oh my.
Yeah.
I could definitely see moving there.
Yeah. Wow.
It was wonderful. It felt like home. Lots of things lately feel like home.
Where did you stay, Kathy, in Crestone?
Stayed in a place called I Am Harmony.
Harmony.
With her.
Wow.
Upstairs in her this woman is 92 years old.
I know. I spent Christmas with her last year.
You did?
I found that retreat space from school. It's amazing. You know her property, Kathy, the mandalas and all that she's created there. Yeah.
And she worked for Brian De Flores, and I've got all his stuff all around. I walk in there and I went, what is happening in here? And it was his original paintings, not prints like I've got, the little photocopy things.
Yeah.
He had originals that showed the other realms. It's like you see the cities in the veil, the other levels of reality.
Yeah. She knew him personally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She worked with him.
Yeah.
But she built. So Trina, I don't think I showed you this, but she built. She at 7 years old. She bought this land, and she hired a contractor to build a house on it. And he kept saying, "No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that." So she fired him, and he had a construction guy, just like a laborer, to help him. And so she said, "You build it for me." And he built her this beautiful house.
It's
And
round.
then
It's
her whole yard is filled with labyrinths, mandalas, things with the I am presence that are so powerful. I mean, I walked around the healing mandala and I was like out of my body. It was so strong. And it's all with beautiful crystals and no one steals it. It's all open to the public. And there's big, beautiful crystals outside in her yard.
Her Kuan Yin altar is beautiful.
Oh, the whole thing.
Yeah. I showed you pictures, Selena. I was there last Christmas.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, what a small world that
It
is.
is. I know.
Sharon Rose got us the place. That's how we found it.
Oh, she's well known there, but now my little kept secret is no longer a little secret. It's okay. I only go once a year.
Yeah, but I'm 92 years old, still living there, and
she's very vibrant. So we had Christmas dinner together, and I met the other people that were staying there and some of her friends, and I met the man who did the building of her teepees.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, and he's in the Native American way. That's all I know. But I did meet him and talk to him, and we actually knew each other from when I lived in Crestone when I was 20, I don't know, 25,
wow,
something like that. Yeah, it's a small community. So if you moved there, you'd get known well, quickly.
Yeah. Anyway, well, that's a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
Really. So, well, anyway, we should probably wrap this up unless anyone else, Selena, if you wanted to mention anything or.
Well, I thank you. I wasn't expecting to kind of be on camera, so I'm not prepared. I wasn't really prepared in the way of lighting and getting myself dressed, but I would like to share that I'm very thankful to have had this spontaneous opportunity to connect with you and with Trina and you know, dear Sister Jade, thank you for nudging me and in the invitation. I'm very thrilled. I wish to just simply share that I've completed a very recent journey that I took. I'm calling it my medicine walk. And I went from the far northern interior of British Columbia, Canada, up spending time up the mountains there. And then I came to the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains of Quebec, Canada, which a lot of people don't know that the Appalachians go all the way up into Canada. And so I went from mountaintop to mountaintop and on this journey of gathering medicine and wisdom. And when I say medicine, I'm referring to spiritual medicine, that which will teach you, guide you, or heal you. And it was coming from the Earth Mother. And I've been a student of hers and her helper for a very long time. And so she had a lot to share with me of the new earth and of what it is that she is asking of us in this time.
Wonderful.
And so that is the message that I'm ready to bring out and share and to celebrate with those whom that may resonate with, of what are the mountains saying? Yeah. What are the mountains saying? When I was in the Appalachians of Quebec, a bear came and approached me with a profound teaching of sharing of what I came as a representative of the leader of the animals that exist on that mountaintop. And the sharing of that was powerful. So I'm very much still holding those frequencies, and that's kind of where my heart is, and at this time is in resonance with the frequencies of the Earth Mother and those who are closest to her, the trees, the mountains, the animals, the creatures. And as I enmeshed myself in that world, in their world, which is our world, because we're a part of nature, feel so very blessed and grateful for what it is that I've been given to share. And so I look forward to hearing and learning from each of you, and receiving inspiration and just sharing in a good way. And this is very much centered in the awakening of the feminine, the restoration of the feminine upon the earth is very much in that alignment with creation. So I thank you.
Sister.
Thank you for
Uh-huh.
sharing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the important thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Trina. You're lovely.
Thank you. Thanks for being on and inviting folks. And
Yeah.
question real quick though, does this time period